We all remember when the headlines first dropped. Diddy, jail, courtroom chaos. At the time, it felt surreal seeing one of hip-hop's most powerful figures reduced to a defendant standing before a judge. But now that the noise has faded and the shock has worn off, the story deserves a deeper look. Not as breaking news, not as a viral headline, but as a moment that quietly reshaped how power, fame, and accountability collide in the entertainment industry. By now, most people already know the basic facts.
Sean Diddy Combs, once viewed as untouchable, was sentenced to more than 4 years in prison. For a man who spent decades defining success in music, fashion, and business, that sentence marked a dramatic and humbling fall from grace.
At the time the verdict was announced, reactions were mixed. Some fans were stunned, others felt it was inevitable. But behind that sentence was a much bigger reality that didn't always make the headlines. Diddy wasn't just facing a few years behind bars. Legally, he was exposed to a maximum sentence of 20 years, a punishment that would have completely erased his public life and permanently altered his legacy. That possibility alone explains why his legal team made a desperate last-minute plea for freedom. It wasn't just about avoiding jail time. It was about preserving whatever remained of an empire built over decades. An empire that once symbolized dominance, luxury, and influence across the global music scene. That plea failed. Sean Diddy Combs didn't just lose a court case, he lost the image of invincibility that had followed him for most of his career. For years, he operated in a world where power seemed to bend rules, where influence opened doors, and where consequences often appeared distant. Courtrooms, however, don't operate on star power. When the judge delivered the sentence, it became clear that this wasn't about who Diddy used to be. It was about accountability. While the sentence was significantly lower than the maximum he could have faced, it was still a firm statement that fame does not equal immunity. To understand why this moment still matters, you have to look at what Diddy represented before the fall. He wasn't just an artist, he was a symbol of ambition in hip-hop. From launching careers to building multi-million-dollar brands, Diddy embodied the idea that success could be limitless. He wasn't simply part of the culture, he helped shape it. That's why his sentencing hit so differently. For fans who grew up watching his rise, this wasn't just another celebrity scandal. It felt personal. It challenged the belief that icons remain icons forever. It forced people to separate the music, the business success, and the public persona from the reality of legal responsibility. While many headlines focused on the 4+ years in prison, the real story was what didn't happen. Diddy avoided decades behind bars. A 20-year sentence would have effectively ended any possibility of a comeback, any chance of reshaping his public image, or any meaningful return to the industry. That outcome wasn't accidental. It was the result of intense legal maneuvering, negotiations, and a justice system weighing punishment against proportionality. Still, the judge made it clear that leniency had limits. A plea for freedom, even at the last moment, does not automatically erase the weight of the charges. For critics, the sentence was overdue accountability. Many argued that powerful figures in entertainment often escape serious consequences, protected by wealth and influence. To them, this ruling was proof that the system can still hold high-profile individuals responsible, even if the punishment stops short of the maximum. For supporters, the reaction was more conflicted. Some believed the reduced sentence showed mercy. Others felt it was still a harsh end for a man whose contributions to music and culture were undeniable. That tension between legacy and accountability continues to fuel debate to this day. And that debate is exactly why this story hasn't faded away. Looking back now, Diddy's sentencing feels less like a shocking twist and more like a turning point, not just for him, but for the industry as a whole. It forced uncomfortable conversations about how power operates behind closed doors, how fame can shield behavior for years, and where the line between influence and consequence should be drawn. It also changed how people view celebrity justice. In the past, many assumed that wealth guaranteed protection. This case complicated that narrative. Yes, Diddy avoided the maximum sentence, but he didn't walk free. He didn't escape unscathed. His reputation took a permanent hit, his freedom was stripped away, and his future became uncertain.
That matters.
Because for younger artists, executives, and influencers watching from the sidelines, the message was clear. Success doesn't erase responsibility. Legacy doesn't cancel accountability. And power, no matter how vast, has limits. The music industry itself felt the ripple effects. Conversations about ethics, behavior, and behind-the-scenes power dynamics grew louder. People began questioning not just individuals, but systems that allow misconduct to go unchecked for years. While those conversations didn't start with Diddy, his case amplified them in a way few others have.
And yet, even now, opinions remain divided. Some believe Diddy got off easier than he should have. 4 years, they argue, is a small price compared to the damage done. Others feel the sentence struck a balance, punishing wrongdoing while stopping short of completely erasing a life's work.
As time passes, the headlines fade, but the questions remain. What happens to an empire when its architect falls? Can a legacy survive prison time? And how should society remember figures who shaped culture but failed morally or legally? For Diddy, the future remains uncertain. Prison time changes people. It reshapes priorities, strips away illusions, and forces reflection. Whether he emerges seeking redemption, silence, or a return to the spotlight is something only time will reveal. But one thing is already clear. This chapter cannot be erased. It will always be part of his story. Looking back, this case wasn't just about one man. It was about a system being tested, about whether influence could overpower consequence, about whether fame still bends justice in the modern era. In this instance, it didn't fully bend. It didn't fully break either. And that gray area is exactly why people are still talking.
So now, with the benefit of hindsight, the question isn't just what happened to Diddy, it's what this moment says about the culture that created him, celebrated him, and eventually watched him fall.
Did the court strike the right balance between punishment and restraint? Or did Diddy avoid the level of accountability that others without fame would have faced? That's the conversation that refuses to die. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you see this as justice served or justice softened by power? And if you want more deep dive celebrity stories, industry power breakdowns, and coverage that goes beyond surface level headlines, make sure you're subscribed and staying tuned.
Because some stories don't end when the verdict is read.
They echo long after the courtroom empties.